Hey everybody, Hunter Fisher, Trapper, Trader, Guide, Scout, and Interpreter, and Country Cook Steve Hall here in Nashville, Tennessee with pretty Miss Sheila behind the camera. Hi Sheila.
Hi.
Anyway, we're going to do a recipe today that I found in an old email from a buddy of mine from Minnesota named Roy Van Kuren. I used to stay in his basement when I was traveling with my band years ago because I didn't have any money for a motel room. I was that starving poor musician, as they say. And I found a recipe that he sent to me clear back then. It said potato sausage. Now these are Minnesota boys. They know about making breakfast sausage and all that. But this knocked me out because it included 5 pounds of ground pork and 3 pounds of hash browns. Now these are fresh out of the freezer, so we're going to get going on this recipe because we don't want this to warm up to room temperature. And we're going to mix it in this LEM meat mixer over here. I don't even know what this is. It's either a 5 or a 10-pound model. You can tell by the size of it here. You know, you can look it up when you go to Bass Pro. Then we also got our LEM stuffer over here, and I know this is about a 3 to 5 pound stuffer. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this stuff and put it in here and mix it up, and we're going to include some seasoning. Let's take a look at this. All right, we got 5 pounds of pork, 3 pounds of hash browns, and any combination of venison and pork you want to use to make 5 pounds. Half and half or 60-40, that's totally up to you. I love venison, but I just don't have any today, so I bought 5 1-pound packages of ground pork at Kroger's, and I got 2 bags of this hash browns, but I only used a bag and a half to get me to that 3 pounds that I need for the recipe. And here's our wonderful seasoning in this cup all mixed up. Let me tell you what's in this little cup here. 7 teaspoons of salt, 3 teaspoons of black pepper, 2 teaspoons of red pepper flakes, 2.5 teaspoons of sage, now 2 teaspoons of sugar, and you can use brown sugar or regular sugar, it's up to your taste, 2.5 teaspoons of garlic powder, and then we're also going to add 2 large onions chopped into this recipe. So let's get all this stuff into our mixer here and start mixing it, and we'll show you what we're going to do here. All right, let's get our meat into our mixer here. And I love this mixer because you just dump it in there. The first thing I'm going to do is kind of break up these first little 6 or 5 packages of pork here a little bit. And to help it along, I'm going to add a little bit of my hash browns. Now these are frozen hash browns and they're still cold. So if they work their way towards room temperature a little bit, don't panic. So we'll be all right. Let me show you what we got going on in here so far. I don't have an aerial shot for my camera, so can you see that, Sheila? All right, that's what we're mixing. Okay, add a little more potatoes. In fact, I'll dump them all in. All right, 5 pounds of pork, 3 pounds of hash browns. Roy, I think you might have something here in this recipe. This is something else. All right, we don't want to mix this too much, but we're going to add our onions right now. And I said 2 large onions. I'm going to use 2 cups by volume because what is a medium and what's a large onion? I don't know. So let's go by 2 cups of chopped onions. I'm going to put in about half. I always like to put it in portions just to help it mix a little better. Now we'll chuck in the other 1/3 of a cup that I had left over there. Boy, look at our product here. Doesn't that look good? That really looks good. All right, now it's time for our seasoning. And here's the scoop on this. You can put a little bit of water in this and kind of liquefy it to help it mix better, but use cold water because you don't want your product to come up from being real cold. But I'm just going to go ahead and put it in dry. But I'm only going to put a dusting in here, and then I'm going to mix it. Boy, this LEM mixer does a real nice job on this product here. A little more. Well, all right. I think this is ready for the stuffer. Take a look at our product here. Doesn't that look good? I am really excited to fry some of this up and see just exactly what breakfast sausage with hash browns mixed right into it tastes like. Well, let's get this meat out of here and we're going to put it in our little stuffer, and then we're going to take some of these nice little LEM bags We're going to fill them up 1 pound at a time. We're going to take some of these little hog rings right here and these little pliers, and we're going to cramp them around the end of the bag once it's full, and I'll see you in just a second. I've been packing this in here good as I've been filling it up. There we go. Looks good. Ready for the stuffer. Now, if you don't own a stuffer, you don't own a mixer, you can still make this recipe. Just mix it up in a bowl by hand. And if you don't have a stuffer, don't stuff cases. Just go ahead and make patties and freeze them for breakfast sausage. Now, what we want to do is kind of watch this little tube here. As this slides down, we'll start watching this stuff. Oh, I can hear it coming out of there. See it coming down the tube? Right there. All right, Sheila and I took a second to clamp down our stuffer because you can't crank these things around. They want to scoot all over the countertop. And we're getting ready to put our little bag on here. Now, these say wild game, but they got all kinds of little squares. It says buffalo, elk, moose, venison, and it says sausage, and it says other. We'll just add potato sausage on there. And you can get these bags at Bass Pro for about $14.95 for 100 of them. That'll last you a long, long time. And of course, these little hog rings are little or nothing, $3.95, $4.95, something like that. Let's get busy and stuff up our first Roy Van Kuren's sausage, potato sausage. I wish it said potato venison breakfast sausage on the YouTube link there, but it's not. Our camera's been kicking in and out, so if the video's been looking goofy, here's our little hog ring. We're going to slide that over there and give it a clamp. And there we have it, ready for the freezer. We're going to go ahead and stuff up the rest of this, and then we're going to leave a little pad out and fry it up and give you a view of that and see how it turns out. So let's go with stuffer bag number 2. And then once we empty this, it took about half of what was in there in the mixer to fill the stuffer. So it's only going to take 2 stufferfuls to be completely packaged up. And get cranking again here. These little stuffers are not that expensive, and they are fun to work with in the fall. There's an old saying in Minnesota. You know you're from Minnesota if 3 days a year your kitchen table converts to a meat processing plant. Well, we got 4.5 packages, but we actually got a little over 5 pounds, and I'll tell you why. You know me, I hate to read instructions. It says right on this bag, 1 pound with a little dotted line right here. So if I'd only filled it to here, it had been a pound of meat, but I filled it right up the top and then crimped it. That way we can take it one out of the freezer and we'll use it in 3 or 4 days for breakfast sausage. So if you took all these ends and included it over here, we'd have at least 5, if not 5.5 pounds, because of the hash browns take up a little space as well. But they soaked up a lot of the moisture in that meat, I think, so I'm really excited about trying it. There is one other thing I want to tell you right now. I added some spices for my taste to this recipe, and I'm going to list them right here on the screen. I added 1 teaspoon of cumin, 1 teaspoon of nutmeg, and 1 teaspoon of thyme. I love thyme in my breakfast sausage. That's just me. But now you can put those 3 extra spices in there if you want, or you can go by Roy's original recipe, or you can stuff half of it and then add about half as much of those other 3 in the rest of your batch and try the 2. So let's fry some up and see what we got. All right, we've been frying up our little potato sausage patties. We're going to check them out. Oh man, I almost used my Green Bay Packer flipper by mistake. I can't use that. I got to save it for next year for the Super Bowl hamburgers for Green Bay. This was a gift to me from my grandkids out there. Raven, Little Daisy, Amarillo, and the Mavmeister. So we'll just go with a regular plastic one here. Check this out. Let me turn this burner off. And we'll give this a taste test here. Roy, thanks for this recipe. It's neat because when you cut into it, these little taters kind of fall out here and there. And I'm going to do some smackety smacking because this is important to me. I love the texture with them little potatoes in there. That is really, really interesting. Let me make one call on this because I'm a real tweaker here. I would back the salt down to 5 or maybe 4 because you can always put more in, but you can't take it out. It's just a touch salty for me. So I would probably put 4 teaspoons of salt instead of 7, which is plenty in this mixture. And other than that, I mean, I can even get by with this. I can get used to the little touch of extra salt to eat this up. The main thing about this recipe, and I don't mean to talk with food in my mouth, but I have to test that, is the texture of the potatoes within the sausage is really, really good. I'm telling you, it's awesome. And there you have it, potato breakfast sausage. 5 pounds of pork, 3 pounds of hash browns, frozen right out of the bag, mixed up. You can mix it by hand. You don't have to have a mixer. You can make patties instead of, stuffing it into these little containers right here. These little bags are really handy dandy. And, the more I eat this, I can kind of get used to the salt. But I would start with 4 teaspoons, 5 at the most, back it down from the 7. Roy, I'm just making a call here. But the texture of the potatoes within the sausage is outstanding. I hope you enjoy our recipes. There's our subscribe button right there. Give that a click, and you'll be the first to know when we come out with another recipe. Is it the best little sausage potato breakfast sausage you'll ever make? If it ain't, it ought to be. It's the only one I've ever made. So I think it's pretty cool. Again, back the salt from 7 teaspoons down to 5 or even 4 in the recipe to start with, because you can always add a little bit at the kitchen table. This is Steve Hall from Nashville, Tennessee, along with Pretty Miss Sheila, saying we hope you enjoy this recipe. We'll see you next time.